Speech off.
Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So, I wanted to do some middle grade recommendation videos. I decided to do this in categories just because I talk too much and I want to be able to talk. And I also don't want these videos to be 2 hours long. And, you know, I'll probably upload them all at the same time because we're going on a trip to Tijuana to visit family this weekend. And that's, you know, kind of a frontier, like, town when you cross the border in California, Mexico. Anyway, we're gonna do that this weekend, and I kind of want to get this done and let you guys decide which category you like best to watch. So, this first one is going to be about classic books, although some of them may not be classics necessarily, or maybe more modern classics. I guess I just consider them classics because everybody knows about them. But some of them are really old classics. So yeah. I had already started making this list when I saw Angela's bookcase video, where she just talked about her favorite children's classics, and I kind of expanded on it. So anyway, I decided to do all the classics that I love. So we'll start with Frances Hodgson Burnett. I mean, everybody knows her, right? And her two most classic books, in my personal opinion, are A Little Princess and The Secret Garden, which I plan on rereading this month for middle grade March. I want to read The Secret Garden because I want to read this new retelling that came out last year. It's called A Bit of Earth. I already talked about it in my March TBR. But anyway, A Little Princess and The Secret Garden, they're both written by Frances Hodgson Burnett. And the funny thing is that I've always thought of them together. I think because I saw the movies at the same time. I remember I was 7 or 8 and we rented them at the same time. And I saw them on the same, literally in one sitting. So ever since then, I've thought of the books at the same time. I remember I read them at the same time too after I watched the movies. No, I read the books first before I watched the movies. Yeah. Either way, they've always sort of been grouped together in my mind, even though they're completely different stories. I don't know. Anyway, you probably know the stories if you haven't been living under a rock, right? But Little Princess, Sarah Crew's father, basically drops her off at this school for girls, and the director is a monster named Miss Minchin. Not a real monster. Not the scary monster type. Human monster. She's terrible. She's awful. And, Sarah uses her imagination to get through some very difficult situations that happen in her life that I won't spoil if you, by some chance, are living under a rock and have never read it. But, yeah. I like the books and the movie. The book and the movie. Even though they have completely different endings. I don't care, honestly. I like both. I actually saw 3 different versions of the movie, now I think about it. So, I saw the Shirley Temple one from the 40s, and then the 90s one that we all saw, and there's this other mini-series that actually goes along with the book. Literally tells the story the way the book would. I got it from the public library. They were VHS tapes, but I can't remember who wrote it. I mean, when it was made. But it was a 2, movie collection. 2 different VHS tapes. I'm not sure when that particular version was made, but anyway, whatever. And then we have The Secret Garden, like I said. Mary Lennox. Her parents die. Mary Lennox is kind of a spoiled brat. Although, I think I love The Secret Garden because I related so much to Mary. I was kind of spoiled too as a kid. I'm blind, if you can't tell by the fact that my eyes are closed. But my parents didn't really teach me to do certain things for a long time. So I related very much to the scene in The Secret Garden where Mary's who is going to dress me? And then Martha's excuse me? And Mary's just hello, dummy, dress me. That's pretty much me. With, relatives who didn't know that I could not bathe or dress myself as a 10-year-old child. I related so hard to Mary as a brat. So yeah, that was my first, inclination that I was going to love Mary. Even though it sounds kind of terrible. It's fine, though. Whatever. But it's a really great springtime story. I mean, Mary and Colin and Dickon and the garden and the robin and just all of it. She goes to live at Misselthwaite Manor in the moor, and it's my favorite out of those two books. So, yeah. Then we have Heidi by Joanna Spyri. This one, I actually completely forgot, and I totally stole this one from Angela's bookcase because I completely forgot. I was trying to make my list, and I was trying to think back to the books I loved. Although, in this case, I watched the movie first. I actually did watch the Shirley Temple version of Heidi. I was obsessed with Shirley Temple as a kid. I don't know why. I think because my parents got me videos where there was lots of music, and Shirley Temple was always singing. And for some reason, my parents thought that Shirley Temple played Annie. She did not. And I was obsessed with Annie, so anyway, whatever. But I did see the versions of Heidi and A Little Princess via Shirley Temple. And they were okay. Although I prefer A Little Princess from the 90s over Shirley Temple playing Sarah. It was weird. But anyway, Heidi is about, Heidi. She goes to live with her grandfather in the Swiss Alps, and she later gets taken away from him and goes to this rich people house to be a companion to Clara, who's in a wheelchair. And honestly, it's actually a little bit like The Secret Garden, because you have a really sick kid who gets cured by the nature in the air, and it's kind of funny now that I think about the similarities between those books, but it's a great read. And then we have the more modern classics. Here's another one that's not so modern. Mary Poppins. I cannot believe I forgot I used to love this series as a kid. Oshina from Oshina Gotta Read 'Em All actually put it on her TBR for middle grade March, or did she read it in February? I don't know. She just recently read it and talked about it, and I cannot believe that I forgot I used to love this. I'm so glad I watch other people's videos. But yeah, Mary Poppins. I read the entire series. I watched the movie first, to be fair, but I love the series just as much. I think I liked it more, actually. Just because, I don't know. There's just something about Mary Poppins in the books that was just really funny. And she was just different than Julie Andrews. Julie Andrews is great, don't get me wrong, but... And also, I think, Mary Poppins was sort of... Not Mary Poppins, Mr. and Mrs. Banks were a little bit different in the books. They weren't considered bad parents for literally not being parents. Unlike in the movie, where all of a sudden they, redeem themselves and are flying a kite by the end of the movie. So it's kind of interesting to kind of read the differences. And in the books, they have twins, John and Barbara, along with Jane and Michael. And then they have anyway. Although I guess it really doesn't matter about John and Barbara. I can kind of see why they didn't put them in the movies. In both movies, I guess. It's not like they do much. They're babies. Anyway. So yeah, there's Mary Poppins, all that series. And then Anne of Green Gables, of course. Anne of Green Gables by Lucy Maud Montgomery. Lots of people have been reading that lately. I sort of took a pause, and now I'm thinking of going back to reading the first and the second one, even though I just read them, because, I don't know. I just don't want to go back to Anne as an adult. I want to read the kid stuff again. once Anne hits adulthood, it just kind of sucks. And, like, it's not so much that I don't enjoy her as an adult, because I think she still meets some quirky people. But once you get to Anne of Ingleside, it's not as fun. And Gilbert, can somebody explain the hype with Gilbert Blythe? I genuinely need to understand the hype. Because really the only interesting thing he ever does is get a slate cracked on his head. Truly, that is the only interesting thing about Gilbert. Other than that, he's just there mooning over Anne. And I'm enjoying the fact that Anne is rejecting him for a while. Like, that's, like, the funniest part of Anne of Green Gables. Oh, right. I need to back up and actually talk about what the book is about. Although you probably know, right? Marilla and Matthew Cuthbert are a brother and sister who are looking for a boy to help them on the farm. They get a girl instead of a boy, and thus begins the adventures of Anne Shirley. And boy, does that girl have some adventures. That is why I'm not that interested in her as an adult. Because she starts to, well, adulting. She starts to do adult things. She starts adulting. I don't like adulting in my kids' books. Although she's still kind of childish, even as an adult. But, like, I think my main problem with the later books, we have 5 books where it's pretty much order. And then you hit books 6 through 8, and she starts having kids, and there's time jumps. And I'm just like, I don't want time jumps. I want all of it. I want to see every single one of your kids born. I want to see them grow up slowly and actually see you parenting and stuff like that. And I don't know. It was just annoying, like the time jumps. So I get sort of impatient after book 6. I actually don't even mind the fact, with like book 5, once Anne's married, but like, because it's still okay, because she's still meeting quirky people. But like, once you hit Anne of Ingleside, I'm kind of over it. They're still okay, but it's not as fun. But anyway, I really enjoyed Anne's early years way more. And there's another one, which Anne of Green Gables fans should read. It's called Before Green Gables. Who's the author? I need to look it up, because I did not add this to my list, even though I should have. It's a prequel that somebody else wrote. Lucky me that I put all of the Anne books in one folder on my brown note. Okay, Before Green Gables. It is by Budge Wilson. B-U-D-G-E. Wilson. So, anybody who's interested in Anne of Green Gables and wants to read Anne the early years, well, it's actually, like I said, called Before Green Gables. Read this book. Budge Wilson did a really good job of portraying Anne, and, like, they did a good job. I don't even know if Budge Wilson is a man or a woman, so I don't know what to call them. Budge? I mean, anyway. The author did a really good job of portraying Anne. It feels like Montgomery's writing. But yeah, it talks about, like, before Anne went to Green Gables. So I had originally planned to read all the books. And then I stopped. And now I'm going to start again. So that one is actually a really good one to start if you really want to, like, do the whole Anne read through. Because you get to see, like, Anne's parents die, which actually sucks. But there's a lot of good moments in that book. Anyway, I'm rambling. See why we need to split these videos? This is getting long. Anyway, so back to my list. Where are you? Right, Anne of Green Gables. Anyway, back to my rant about Gilbert Blythe. I don't understand what the appeal is of him. I don't dislike him, but I'm not like, I don't care about him, I guess, is the problem. He is like the least interesting person in the series. I'd rather watch Anne, like, I like Diana, I like everybody else in the book, but I don't care about Gilbert, like, whatsoever. Am I the only one? Like, I need to understand why Gilbert is end-all be-all. Somebody fill me in, because I don't get it. Anyway, next series I loved as a kid is Ramona Quimby by Beverly Cleary. I actually love 2 Beverly Cleary series. Like the Ramona books and The Mouse and the Motorcycle, like all of those books. Ralph S. Mouse. I was obsessed with Ralph. But I also loved Ramona. Ramona was practically me as a child. Like, her injustices were my injustices as a kid. Like, and I was also an eavesdropper who listened in to my parents' conversations because I had a problem against bedtime. I found out that adults got to stay up later than kids, and that was not going to happen. So I would just stay awake just because life was unfair, and I would wait until everybody went to sleep, and that got boring, so I began to eavesdrop. And then I read Harriet the Spy, which is another of my favorite series that I just thought about, and I started keeping a notebook of my findings, which eventually got me into trouble when, exactly like Harriet, it got taken and read, and child services came to my house, believe it or not. So it actually turned out worse than for Harriet, because, you know, child services coming to your house isn't exactly great. Wow, I'm telling a lot of things in this video. Whatever, it's fine. We're friends, right? Anyway, it's hard to believe that my notebook or whatever, like files, actually got snatched, but they did. I mean, I write in Braille, and I had a Braille note, so the problem was that the kid who did it, he was the only one who knew how to transfer our Braille files onto a flash drive, so he did, and he was supposed to, like, give us the flash drive to put into our new machines when we got them, but he apparently copied the files and read my journal. Yeah, anyway. I probably exaggerated some things, and he got worried about my sanity. Whatever. That took a turn. But yeah, anyway, I love Ramona, apart from her eavesdropping tendencies. I mean, the egg in her hair. Classic. Ramona should be a TV show, not just a movie. And like I said, I love Ralph S. Mouse. And now let's go to less dangerous territory, shall we? The Little House books, Laura Ingalls Wilder. I mean, what's there to say about those? We all know those, right? As Believe in Your Shelf said in her video, there's some problematic things in those. Wait, no. I got the wrong person. I'm subscribed to too many people. Angela's Bookcase. Sorry. Yeah, Angela said that in her video. I'm tired and rambling. Anyway, that is what happens when you take Starbucks before you film. You get hyper and insane. Anyway, there are some problematic things in the books, but honestly, you should still read them. Just make sure when you're reading them with your kids, you talk about what's problematic and what's not. But I think you can still have the same nostalgia that you had, you know, as a kid when you reread them. I love them. Although, I'm not a big fan of Mary. If you are interested in hearing my thoughts about all the Little House books, I did a video about all the books. I reviewed every single one last year, and it's a very long, rambly video, kind of like this, where I talk about each and every book and what I thought of it. But like I said, if you're a fan of Mary Ingalls, maybe you won't like it. And then we have Judy Blume, the Fudge books, Tales of a Fourth Grade Nothing, all of that. Those are my favorites because, well, Fudge is insane. And I kind of just love Peter, his long-suffering older brother, who has to put up with him. And then there's the one about Sheila, otherwise known as Sheila the Great. She was taking swimming lessons at the same time I was, so, like, I identified with her, only she was scared of the water and I was not. So, yeah, but it was still interesting to kind of be learning at the same time she was, and almost exactly the same way that she was. But, yeah, my favorite was Fudge. I was a bad eater, and there's this one chapter in Tales of a Fourth Grade Nothing where, Fudge refuses to eat, and his dad finally loses his mind and dumps cereal on his head. Miss Schindler, my Braille teacher, read it to us when I was in 3rd grade. And it's actually interesting because she said that as I was her first, like, totally blind student, she wasn't always sure if I was paying attention because I don't have, like, I didn't always, like, have the most expressive face. And she knew that I was finally paying attention to Fudge when I was laughing so hysterically that I fell off my chair. I was laughing, actually, because I had refused to eat soup the day before, and Dad, in a moment of insanity, threatened to pour that over my head if I didn't eat it. He would never actually do it, of course, but, you know, the threat was there, and then when I found out that Fudge's dad dumped cereal on his head, I knew it was a possibility. So, you know. Anyway, that kind of story is what got CPS at my door once my journal was read because, you know, I tend to exaggerate things a little, so you can imagine why CPS was a tad worried. Anyway, then we have, this is an old classic, Little Women by Louisa May Alcott. I mean, everybody knows that, right? We just had Emma Watson do a remake of it right before the pandemic. That was the last movie I saw at the movies before the pandemic hit. Little Women. But I still prefer the 90s version of the movie. Anyway, you know, the Marx Sisters. The whole thing. There's not a whole lot to tell. Cozy. I try to read it every Christmas. But there's another Louisa May Alcott book that I love. It's called Jack and Jill. It's about, well, Jack and Jill. They're two friends. Although, I think their names are not actually Jack and Jill. I think I forgot what Jack's real name is, but they call them Jack and Jill because they're, like, best friends. And, yeah. Jill's name is actually Janie? Whatever. Anyway, they have a sledding accident, and they're kind of laid up for a while, and it's kind of the journey of their recovery, and the Christmas scene in that book is kind of reminiscent of Little House, just with injured people. It's really fun. So, yeah, I love Jack and Jill, and it's actually kind of good for Christian fiction readers, I think, if anyone's interested in reading it. But I think if you're not a Christian fiction reader, you might not like it because it's a tad preachy. And, yeah. So, there's that. And let's see, what else do we have here? I don't know if I call this a classic. For some reason, I put it on my list. Lemony Snicket's A Series of Unfortunate Events. I was obsessed with those books. Like, beyond obsessed. The Baudelaire orphans, their parents die in a fire, and they get sent to different unfortunate guardians. And Tim Curry's narration of those books is amazing. Mitzi from Mitzi Reads and Writes talks about these. She read through them, I think, recently. I've been wanting to reread them, but I need to buy them again or borrow them because I, well, no longer have a tape player, and I'm pretty sure I gave my tapes away. But yeah, I love those books. Like, I was trying to get those books on release day the same way that everybody else was trying to get Harry Potter. I mean, I was trying to get Harry Potter too, but I was there, like, on release day. I had to have the audiobooks immediately. Actually, Miss Schindler did one slightly unforgivable thing to me with Lemony Snicket. I mean, I totally understand, but it's Lemony Snicket, so I haven't completely forgiven her for it. But she, so before there was digital Braille, she would have to Braille a lot of books for us. And that's a lot of hard work. I'm not sure the whole process, but I assume, I don't know if she had to scan it or if she had to type it or what, but it's a lot of labor for me to read a book in one sitting. So she started giving it to me in chunks, and as it's Lemony Snicket, I was very upset by this. So, you know. But, yeah. She did give me The Hostile Hospital and a couple of other ones through raffles to make up for this torture. So, you know, the audio versions. So, yeah, there's that. But, I was very upset at having to read The Miserable Mill at such a slow snail's pace, because Lemony Snicket's books were amazing. And I personally think that he should keep writing them. Book 13 did not have a satisfying ending. I need to know what happens next. And I used to read a lot of Lemony Snicket fan fiction until fan fiction decided to update itself, and now they use cookies, which my Braille note doesn't like. So now I can no longer read fan fiction, which is not fair. Sorry, I'm rambling again. Starbucks. Last one for this video, in case you're sick of my loud, rambly voice. Lois Lowry's Anastasia Krupnik. I mean, Anastasia was insane. Like, she got herself into so much stuff, it's not even funny, right? So, yeah. I mean, you have to kind of read them to know what it's like, but yeah, she was insane. The stuff she managed to get herself into, like, there's this one, I think my favorite is Anastasia on Her Own, where her mom goes on a trip. Anastasia's, like, in charge of the house, and whoa. It's wild. And then I also loved the Sam Krupnik series, because Anastasia's little brother, Sam, gets his own series, and it is amazing. So, yeah. Anyway, that is all I have for classics. That was fun. And more rambly than I ever thought it would be, but hey. This is probably the most animated I've ever been in a video. And it is all due to a mocha frappuccino. And while I'm wired and hyper, please like, comment, and subscribe. I'm really hoping to reach 100 subscribers by June. Anyway, talk to you guys in my next video. Bye.
Stop recording video.